Good day, viewers, and welcome to another Onside SA soccer show. Paul is unfortunately unavailable this morning, let me get that right. But joining me from his Fulham studio is our regular UK correspondent, Stevie Brown. But we kick off, as always, with our post-net last one standing competition. And heading into week 6, we had 42 entries. 38 were successful. 14 were on Man United, 11 on Chelsea and West Ham, and 1 on Liverpool and Man City. The unfortunate souls were 3 on Aston Villa and 1 on Brentford. 3 ladies survive into round 7. They are Chanel Mudley, Tennille Verners and Sam Cooper Bull. We have 3 internationals left: Steve Potter, Jason Dunbar and Ken Moby. While 3 former champions still keep going. Gary Citron without the E, Brett Galley and Ernie Wallace, who now lives in Cape Town. There are only 2 guys with multiple picks. Those are Robbie Talon and Ken Moby. The other remaining entrants are Phil Giorgio, Michelle Narak, Rod van Rensburg, Clive Napier, Lawrence and Jared Verners, Connor McNeil, Mark Fullion, Dave Goss, Doug Stain, Kenny Craig, Robbie Dalton, Marco Govia, Adam Murta, Jeff Scrooby, Johnny Arthur, Dean Veal, Josh Kidd, Regan Moyo, Mark Tuttle, Mark Jackson, Jay Naidu, Sasha Dupree, Ryan Hensey and our own Paul Lafferty. Guys, there is a 2:30 game on Saturday between Notts Forest and Man City. Please try and get your selections in by 1 o'clock South African time. Steve, good morning.
Morning, Budge.
Successful European starts for the English clubs.
Yeah, very much so. Obviously, the early game was Villa. I thought they started well. Conceded maybe slightly against the run of play, and then it was sort of fairly even. Yeah. They always looked dangerous going forward, and that last sort of they had a mad 5 minutes, Bruges, giving away an own goal and conceding a soft penalty, and that leaves Villa in the driving seat.
Yeah, great result for them. Arsenal 7-1. Now, what still it was 3-0. I know you carried on watching it, but for the first time I saw them getting bodies in the box and early balls into the box. Normally they just play side to side and hope some magician can do something, but I was impressed what I saw last night.
Yeah, I mean, they absolutely, in the second half particularly, the two goals in the first 2 minutes, and after that it was sort of game over, and Arsenal looked like they could score every time they attacked. Yeah. It was a very clinical performance, and it's the first time any side has scored 7 away from home in a knockout stage in the Champions League. So lots of, PSV had never conceded more than 5 in a European game at home in their history. So broke a lot of records, and I think maybe it sort of puts to bed the fact that Arsenal, without their injured players, can't score goals.
Yeah, I thought they were a little bit fortunate. PSV hit the bar and could have had an Arsenal player sent off, but the ref chickened out. But after that, one-way traffic. Steve, superb game. Real Madrid, Atletico. Just when Atletico had 1-1, were getting on top, they made a mistake, and the youngster from Man City scored a superb goal.
Yeah, I think it's going to be tough for Atleti now to come back. As we said before, they play each other a lot. They know each other well. Yeah. Atletico are not overawed by Real, as a lot of teams in Europe are. I think they'll have a go, but you just sort of feel that Real will do what they need to do to get through, and then face looks like it's going to be Arsenal. So, big game on the horizon there for the Gunners.
Yeah, a couple of games on tonight. Feyenoord, Inter Milan, Bayern Munich, Bayer Leverkusen, Benfica, Barca, PSG, Liverpool. Steve, that'll be a tight game.
I think it will do. I mean, especially the way that we saw how PSG played against Man City, and in the playoff round, PSG were very strong. Look, Liverpool have the slight advantage, obviously, that they finish the tie at Anfield. I think if they come away even with a draw tonight, I think they'll be satisfied with that. But I think they'll have to play well, Liverpool. I think that they've got most of their players available. Cody Gakpo is in the squad. They thought he might be doubtful, but I think if the rest of them are fit and available, I think that they're capable of scoring goals, Liverpool. And I think that's going to be key tonight.
Yeah, I just wonder who's going to play up from the back better, because PSG do that way. Liverpool hardly do it, but I think they're going to target Trent Alexander. They've got Dembele and the other young Georgian. I think it's KwaZulu-Natal, I think that's his name. So should be a cracker game, but I think it's got draw written all over it. There are a few English clubs in Europa League on Thursday. AZ Alkmaar against Tottenham, Real Sociedad against Man United. In the Conference League, FC Copenhagen tackle Chelsea. Other than Man United, Steve, do you think the other two would be successful?
Well, Chelsea, you'd expect them to. I mean, the squad they've got available. I mean, he obviously rotated a lot. He might play a slightly stronger team against Copenhagen, but again, over two legs, I expect them to get through. Tough fixture for Tottenham. AZ Alkmaar are not a bad side, but again, Tottenham have the advantage of playing at the Tottenham Stadium in next week. I saw that Kulusevski could be out. Okay. Evidently his foot was in a protective boot this week in training, so I think that would be a loss for them if he's not available. But Tottenham, it's an opportunity for them to sort of salvage something from the season. Yeah. And for United, well, this is all United have got left now, so you'd expect them to sort of, again, they don't want to capitulate tomorrow. I think if they can come away without defeat, I think they'd be pleased with that.
Yeah. Got to hope it'll be tight. I've watched Real Sociedad's last two games. They won the previous one, but they're a little bit unlucky against Barcelona. They scored, had a goal disallowed, and then they had a player sent off in the 15th minute. So they got beat 4-0, but once they went down to 10 men. But this will be a tight game for United. Hopefully we can get a result. On to the Premiership fixtures for the weekend, and kick-off, third against fourth here. Notts Forest against Man City, Steve. How do you see it going? Yeah.
I mean, look, this is. I've just got a feeling that sort of City can go there and get a result. I think that they know that they're so far adrift of catching Liverpool or anything. But I think for Pep, it's absolutely key that they consolidate their Champions League place, and I think they'll do that. Forest. They had to bring on the big guns on Monday against Ipswich, and they were struggling a little bit until they did that. I just think that City, if they play it to their potentials, we know they can. I think they'll be too strong. But Forest showed against Arsenal, they keep it very tight at the back and try and sort of catch teams on the break. Yeah. Nathan Ake is going to be out for a while. He had an operation this week, so they'll have to sort of mix and match their defence a little bit.
Yeah, I think Erling Haaland to score any time at 11-10 is the right play. I agree, Forest are going to sit and try and catch them on the break, because Man City's back four is woeful. But if Man City get on top, you've got to expect. But I think there's going to be goals here, Steve. Just can't see it not being. Notts Forest are dangerous going forward, and Man City, we all know how good they are. But I'm actually looking forward to this game. Forest have only lost one of their last 10 at home. That was to Newcastle, so... Just can't trust Man City at the moment, Steve. What I see I don't like, and they've cost me money in recent weeks. Couldn't keep a clean sheet against Plymouth. So set piece, fancy Forest to grab one. Next game, Brighton-Fulham, Steve. I can't believe the betting here.
Well, it's interesting. I mean, we're one of their both. Brighton haven't beaten us in the Premier League. We tend to draw down there. We have one, but it's one of those games. Look, Brighton on their day, play some lovely football, and I think this is going to be a fairly tight game. I'd be pretty happy with the draw. I think that would be a good result for us. There's a possibility that Mitoma could be out injured, and he really is an exciting player. So. Yeah. I think this one, I wouldn't say it's going to go either way. I think we're either looking at a Brighton home win or a draw for me.
Yeah, I thought the draw was a good player at 26-10. The bet that I'm going to go for is Fulham win or draw and both teams to score yes at 17-10. I thought that was worth a few rand. Crystal Palace too good for Ipswich Town, Steve?
Yeah, I think they should be. Even though obviously Crystal Palace's home record has not been strong,
Yeah.
I just think that Ipswich had a tough game on Monday. But having said that, I thought they showed a lot of good signs, especially when they brought Liam Delap on.
Yeah.
You know, he looks such a good young player. You know, they've got a half a chance here at Ipswich. I know that they're sort of 5 points adrift to ball. But you know, with Wolves losing Cunha for we don't know, but at least 4 games,
yeah.
I suspect that Ipswich can look at that and think, look, if we can get something on Saturday at Palace, then the draw wouldn't be the worst result for them. So you know, I think for me, Palace favourites, but Ipswich could snatch a point there.
Yeah, I thought over 2.5 goals, both teams to score. Yes, at 13 a day was the right way to go. You know, I just got no confidence in Ipswich Town. They always score, Steve, but at the back they just concede. And I know Mateta, I don't think is going to be playing. But if Eddie Nketiah comes in, I like what I've seen of late with Crystal Palace. 5 wins and 2 losses. You know, I've got a fancy Crystal Palace here, but that's my suggestion. Over 2.5 goals, both teams to score, yes, at 13 to 10. Steve, the question with Liverpool-Southampton, can Southampton score?
They could do. I mean, obviously Liverpool have got a tough game tonight, and you do wonder whether or not, bearing in mind, depending on how the result goes, Slot is going to have to play his strongest team next week against PSG.
Yeah.
And I just wonder whether he might just rotate a little bit on the basis that he thinks that pretty much whatever team he puts out will beat Southampton. So I think there is a possibility that Southampton could score. I think Liverpool will still be far too strong for them.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't be at all surprised that he will rotate and actually rest 1 or 2 depending on what happens tonight, bearing in mind that next week it was going to be an absolutely crucial game in the second leg.
Yeah, the reason I say that Liverpool are 1-9 to win. If you go Liverpool to win, both teams to score, yes, it's 12 to 10. So I thought that was, if you are going to have a bet, obviously all the goal markers with Liverpool to score over 3.5 goals, that's 11 to 10. And I agree with their mind on in PSG at home, and then the Euro, and then the League Cup final the following Sunday. He has to play a weakened side here. Not that it's going to weaken them too much against Southampton, but I've got a funny feeling Southampton will get beat, but they will score. So 12 to 10 is my suggestion. Steve, Brentford, Aston Villa. How do you see it?
Yeah, well, look, Villa had a great win last night, but as we know, the week after they play in the Champions League, they tend not to do very well.
Yeah.
In fact, away from home, they'd lost something like, before yesterday, 9 out of 12 games away from home in all competitions. It's, Brentford, on the other hand, have stuttered at home but have been better away. So, look, I think Villa have got a great attack at the moment. Adding Asensio and Rashford to it, they really look good going forward. I think there'll certainly be goals. I think both teams are going to score. I've just got a feeling Villa might just upset the apple cart a little bit, and I think that they'll feel that the job is pretty much done against Bruges, and I think he'll put out his strongest available side at the weekend. And I think, for me, it could be a Villa win or a draw here.
Yeah, I think 28 to 10, the draw looks a decent price. My bet was Brentford to win or draw and both teams to score, yes. You know, I just think that Brentford are going to try and play a similar style to Crystal Palace, that hustle, and that's how they play. You know, Villa, they're a football team, Villa, and against a team like Brentford on that tight pitch. You know, I don't see them winning, Steve. I think a draw looks the right play, but, you know, win or draw Brentford for me there. On to my second page, and I've got a strong feeling in this game, Steve. Wolves-Everton. Which way are you going?
Yeah, well, look, I mean, with Cunha getting sent off, he has been their talisman. It's his second red card of the season, effectively. We don't know if the ban is going to be extended. Obviously, it's a minimum 3 games. They're talking about it being at least 4. I've just got this feeling that Everton could go there and get a result. That David Moyes has got them playing really well. I think they're going to, they pulled right away from trouble now. And I think Wolves are, I thought they struggled in patches against Fulham in their last league outing. Yeah. Maybe a little bit unlucky to go out at Bournemouth, but, I think confidence is low there. And I've just got a feeling Everton can get a result.
Totally agree. I'm all over Everton. They're 17 to 10 to win, but they're also 17 to 10 to score over 1.5 goals. I'm already on. I can't have Wolves. I was on Bournemouth last week, and that second goal had been given just before half-time. I think it was a 4-5-0 job. They got out of jail. Kuna scored a brilliant equaliser, and then they had something to fight for. I'm all over Everton here. They're playing well, nice and tight at the back. I think they're going to go to Molineux and get the 3 points. Steve, Chelsea-Leicester. We've got to fancy Chelsea again, but can Leicester score?
You say that they could do, but they've hardly scored at all this season in this run of defeats. I've got a feeling Chelsea, I think, will get through the Europa Conference tie without too much trouble, and I think he'll play a pretty strong side, and I think that they'll win. And for me, I think probably they'll win without Leicester scoring, so it could be something like sort of 2 or 3-0.
Yeah, 2-0 Chelsea to win and both teams to score no is 11-10. But the over 2.5 goals, both teams to score no market, which would be Chelsea to win a minimum of 3-0 or 4-0, is like 26-10. I thought that was a decent price, but I don't like what I see from Leicester alongside Southampton. I think Leicester are actually worse than Southampton, but I think they're going to get another hiding here. Big game here, Tottenham-Bournemouth, Steve. I'm surprised Tottenham are that short.
Well, again, this would be a good game, except obviously for Tottenham, they've got 2 tough games in Europe, and he can't really afford to rest any of his big names against AZ Alkmaar. Bournemouth, I think, obviously they had they're pleased with themselves getting through to the cup. I think. For me, I think Bournemouth would certainly go to Tottenham and think that they can get something. I wouldn't be at all surprised if Tottenham hold them. They've certainly played a bit better, Tottenham, but Bournemouth are quite capable, and we've seen how they, away from home, how they, sort of like the way they tore Newcastle apart. So if Tottenham are a little bit leggy after the game tomorrow night, I think Bournemouth can take advantage.
Yeah, I fancy Bournemouth big time. 70-10, I think is a good price. I went Bournemouth to win or draw and over 2.5 goals at 14-10. We know both teams are going to score here. Spurs can always score, can't keep a clean sheet. I've been impressed with what I've seen with Bournemouth. They've only lost one of the last 9 away from home, and that was at Brighton, and I watched large parts of that. They're a little bit unlucky. For me, of the 2 sides, I'm all over Bournemouth. Man United, Arsenal, Steve. It's just a gut wrench watching United. It's sickening, to be honest.
Look, I mean, United tend to raise their game against the bigger sides. I mean, some of their best performances this year were against Liverpool, City, and in Arsenal in the Cup. Having said that, Arsenal played last night. United play away tomorrow night, and I think that's a big advantage for Arsenal. And if Arsenal play the way they did last night and move that ball quickly, I think they're going to be far too strong for United, and I can't see part of Arsenal win somehow.
Yeah, they're my bit of the weekend, Steve. I hate to say it. Ironically, I was at the 2004 game where Arsenal were going to win 50 or to go unbeaten 50 in a row, and Ruud scored the penalty. But I just don't like what I see from Man United. There's no spirit. And what amazes me is every player that's left seems to be more enthusiastic. I'm not in love with the manager. The best bet has been the last 5 games is Arsenal and Man United to concede first. I think it was 8-10 Arsenal to score the first goal. But I'm all over Arsenal here. 8-10 I think is a good price. After last night, I'm sure it shortened slightly. But Arsenal to score over 1.5 goals at even money, I think that's the right play in that particular game. And last but not least, in the Premiership, Monday night, West Ham, Newcastle. How do you see it, Steve?
Yeah, this is it should be a good, entertaining game. I mean, Newcastle, though, might have one eye already on the EFL Cup final. I mean, it looks like they could be losing Anthony Gordon, though I understand they're going to appeal. I'm not quite sure on what grounds they feel they can appeal, because, he just lost his head. Lewis Hall is out injured. I just think that, Newcastle obviously, want to push to get a Champions League place, but the fans are desperate for silverware. So I think that, West Ham just sort of shown a little bit more fight recently. Obviously a great win at Arsenal, fairly, I say, straight routine win against Leicester last week, and I think West Ham might get something out of this game. Yeah,
I fancy West Ham, Steve. I totally agree. I just don't see them playing Alexander Isak. Gordon's not going to get overturned. Yeah, I don't know how they can have the audacity to do that, but I just don't see it unless they delay the suspension, which Liverpool will go crazy about. I'm all over West Ham here, Steve. I know they've won their last 2 games, but they have looked a lot better. But the biggest reason is Newcastle have got that League Cup final on Sunday. So they have to mix and match here. They won't play Joelinton because he's a nutcase. I don't know if they're going to play the other Brazilian. I expect them to make multiple changes, which is going to play into West Ham's strength. I think they're organised, and if ever there's an upset in the Premier League this weekend, I got a funny feeling 21-10 West Ham could well be it. On to the Championship, and we had a few games last night. The guys that played in the Cup. First came up, Steve, Norwich City, Oxford. Hard to beat Norwich?
Yeah, I think it would be, Oxford have just fallen away a little bit, and I think Norwich should be strong favourites to win this one.
Yeah, it's a Friday night, so I didn't put it into our bets. Oxford lost the plot lately, but it's got to be Norwich, especially at home. Coventry City, the form team in the Championship, Steve. Too good for Stoke City?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, they were my
best bet
last week, and they did. And look, they've got themselves. You think Mark Robbins got himself sacked earlier when they were struggling, and here Frank Lampard's got them into a playoff place.
Yeah.
So I think I'd expect them. Stoke, you're not sure what you're going to get.
Yeah, that's
but
the problem.
They are very inconsistent. But Coventry are on a real run at the moment, and I think that this should be a home win.
Yeah, I won 8 of the last 9. I went Coventry to win in over 2.5 total goals, but Coventry to win by more than 1 in the handicap, around 15-10. I think they're both decent bets. Watford, Millwall, Steve. Just don't know. I know we got the money when Watford beat Luton at home, but the recent form has been poor, and Millwall, got beat last night at home. I'm going goals here, Steve, but of the two sides, what do you think?
Yeah, I think Millwall obviously had a tough weekend. Obviously playing with 10 men, lost at home last night against a good Bristol City side. But I think Watford, who obviously haven't played since the last week, I think they're going to look at this and think they could get another 3 points. I think you could be right. There could be goals, but I just fancy Watford to come out on top. Yeah,
totally agree. I think that goalkeeper getting sent off has affected them. I don't know who their reserve keeper is, but he didn't help them last night. Bristol City against Hull, Steve. Bristol City, great home form, 7 wins of the last 9. The game that I went for them, they actually drew. Hull City, you just never know. They've come right. They beat Sunderland and Sheffield United away. I was going to make Bristol City absolute certainties here, but this Hull team, I never catch them. So I went both teams to score, Steve, but I'm sure you fancy Bristol City.
I do actually, yeah, and I thought it was for what I saw, and I saw sort of clips. They had a good result last night, and they're on the they're just outside the playoffs on goal difference. So Hull had a fairly straightforward win against the Plymouth side, who are obviously still recovering from their cup exploits. But I fancy Bristol City to win, maybe the odd goal in 3, but I fancy Bristol City strongly to get a result.
Don't blame me for going for Bristol City. On to our second page, and we've got Burnley against Luton Town. I was fortunate to back Burnley last night at even money. I think they're going to destroy Luton Town, Steve. I've got a great bet in this game, but are you all over Burnley as well?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, look, they conceded their first goal since December in the league last night, but still won, and they find themselves only 2 points off automatic place. Luton, away record we know is absolutely dire, and I think you can't see anything other than a Burnley win here.
Yeah, a couple of bets. I think Burnley are going to destroy them. Over 2.5 goals, both teams to score no, a 6.5 to 1. I thought that was too big a price, but the bet I like is Burnley to win an over 2.5 total goals at 2 to 1. I know my boys Preston beat them 3-0 on Saturday, but I think that's woken them up. They're starting to attack more. And I think that's why they may concede 1 or 2 at the back, but I'm all over Burnley. I think 6 to 10 is a great price. Derby Blackburn, Steve. I can't believe Blackburn are 21 to 10.
No, I think those are pretty long odds, especially when Derby find themselves rock bottom. I think Blackburn are going to look at that and think there's an opportunity for 3 points here. For me, I think Blackburn should be shorter, and I think this is there's quite a bit of value in that bet.
Yeah, Derby have lost 10 of the last 12. They drew the other 2, so Maybe the bookmakers know something, but to me, I think the draw looks a right play, but I can't have Derby. Plymouth Argyle, I know they played great against Man City in the Cup. They got beat in a big game last night. Can they rebound against Sheffield Wednesday?
They can. I think there'll be goals here. Sheffield Wednesday score, as we know. But, Plymouth find themselves, they're now they're 6 points adrift. Obviously, teams above them have picked points up. So this is a crucial game for them. They have to forget what's happened in the Cup now. They've had their run. They did themselves proud, scored first up at the Etihad. And I think now they've got to concentrate on the league. I don't think this will be an easy game for them.
Yeah.
I think they could edge it. But they're going to have to sort of really dig deep. But Sheffield Wednesday, they won't give up hope of a playoff place. So, I think there could be goals. I wouldn't be surprised if it ends up as a score draw.
Yeah, I've been on Sheffield Wednesday. I thought they were a bit of an outsider last week, but Sunderland played really well. It was a superb game. They've lost 3 games in a row. That's my only doubt with Sheffield Wednesday. They are the better team, but I took 11-10, both teams to score. I thought that was a great price. That's my suggestion in that particular game, but got a funny feeling if Plymouth don't win this, I think it could be curtains. Sheffield United, Preston, Steve, I don't see too much hope for my boys here. I think the draw is the best we can get there.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think, Preston got another 0-0 last night. It makes you wonder now they've got, they're safe for relegation. They're not going to challenge for the playoffs, I think. And, obviously they've got this huge cup game coming up. Sheffield United, can see that Burnley are coming up on the outside. Yeah. I think that they score first. I think they should win it. I don't think they'd win by a hatful because Preston don't concede many. But, I can see Sheffield United winning this. Yeah,
I think this has got 2-0 Sheffield United written all over it. On to our final page in the championship, and we got Sunderland Cardiff, Steve. Sunderland got a lot of good young players. Cardiff are struggling. They got beat last night. It was by Burnley. I didn't know what to take. 5-10 Sunderland to win, or over 2.5 goals at 9-10. So I got a bit greedy and took the bigger price. Do you agree?
Yeah, I think Sunderland should be winning this. Again, they're a little bit adrift of an automatic place, but they want to make sure that that a high playoff place is guaranteed. So I think they should be winning this. Cardiff evidently had a bit of a go. I mean, I saw highlights. They had a good opportunity to equalise late last night, against Burnley, but didn't take it. They pulled themselves out away from that bottom 3, but I think Sunderland should still be too strong. Yeah,
I went goals. I just can't have Sunderland keeping a clean sheet. And one thing about Cardiff, set pieces are dangerous, so you just never know. But I don't see Sunderland getting beat. Steve, Swansea 21-10 at home against Middlesbrough. Isn't that a big price?
It is, but again, they've struggled at home recently. Yeah. Although they did have a good win sort of the week before. But Middlesbrough, again, you're not sure what you're going to get. You really don't. When I've looked to back them, on here, they've let me down as well. So I think that Middlesbrough should start as favourites. But Swansea on their day are capable of getting a result. I think they could cancel each other out. If Swansea score first, I think that I think Middlesbrough will do well to get a result there.
Yeah, I just never know. I know they won their last 2, Middlesbrough, but they lost the previous 5, so it's a little bit hard to take 13-10. West Brom QPR, the wheels have come off QPR. Steve, 7-10, West Brom, a good bet?
Yeah, I think so. They had a very good result at Leeds the week before. And I think that again, they're just outside the playoff place. That they want to get back in there, and I think that they should be too strong for QPR.
Yeah. Talking of Leeds, will they be too good for Portsmouth?
I think so. Portsmouth have done really well recently, especially at home. But I think Leeds are such a good attacking side. With the options that they have available, if the front 3 don't score, you can bring on another couple who are capable. So, I think this would be a really good game. Sell-out crowd, good atmosphere. I just think Leeds should be a little bit too strong for them.
Yeah, and also they've had a break, Steve. The previous week against West Brom was a Saturday lunchtime kickoff, and that followed a Monday night big game when they beat Sheffield United 3-1. So maybe they're a little bit cocky. I saw the West Brom goal. Not the best at defending, but Portsmouth have only lost 1. I think it's their last 11 at home, Steve. That was to Millwall, and they had a player sent off in that game. So you never know, but Leeds are the best team in the championship, and 5-10, I think it's not a bad price. Steve, pressure time again. Need your best bet and value bet, please.
Yeah, I'm going to go for Bristol City. I think they're on a great run, find themselves literally just, almost in a playoff place. And my value bet, I tossed between a couple, and in the end I've gone for Everton. I think that, I think they're playing really well, and I just think Wolves are there for the taking.
Yeah, I went Arsenal's my best. I know my Man United mates won't like that, but defensively they're superb. In the middle of the park, they'll dictate the game. And I just think after last night, Steve, I think they've realised that they've got to get bodies in the box, push up, and I don't see the Old Trafford faithful leaving too happy. So I'm on Arsenal. I hummed and hard between Everton and Bournemouth, but I have sided with Everton. So 17-10 Everton is both Steve and I's best value bet. Steve, thanks as always. We'll speak over the weekend.
Absolutely. All
Take
right,
care.
Marge.
All
Cheers.
the best.
Bye. Bye.
Yeah, there were a few PSL games on last night. Kaizer Chiefs beat Magezi 1-0. And Maruma Gallop surprisingly were beaten at home by Stellenbosch. There's 5 games on today, so we're not going to go through them all because by the time the show flights, the games would have finished. But it's Nedbank quarter-final time. And first game up, Supersport versus Pirates. Disappointing. I watched a bit of Pirates at Maruma Gallets and they got beat 2-0. They're very lackluster. Maybe they're saving them for the Cup. Gavin Hunt, Supersport United are always hard to beat. But I thought 11-10 definitely looks worth an interest. I think of the two sides, they'll go through. 11-10, I don't think is a bad price. Stellenbosch and Chiefs. If ever there's a Cup side, it's Steve Barker's Stellenbosch. But eliminating Kaizer Chiefs from any Cup competition is going to be difficult. Don't be surprised if this goes to extra time. So 21-10 looks the right way to go. Sundowns, you just got to keep backing them. They're a class apart. Obviously, they've got one eye on the CAF Champions League, which I think they'll be a main contender. And at home against Sekhukhune. Won't be easy, but I think they'll go through. And Durban City against Maruma Gallants. So what's the Durban City game when they eliminated TS Galaxy in extra time? They'll give it a go here. They're unbeaten in the last 4 First Division games. They are top of the First Division. Maruma Gallants don't travel well. Their last 6 away league games have seen them draw 1 and lose 5. But they did knock out Amazulu in the previous round. Another game that could go to extra time, but Durban City are going well. They've got a great chance of going through. On to our exotics for the weekend on Saturday, and the first one up is our Soccer 6. And I'm bankering Coventry City to beat Stoke. I'm going the field in the Nottingham Forest Man City clash, as well as the Watford versus Millwall game. Celta de Vigo, I'm chancing them to beat Leganes. I've thrown the draw in with Orlando Pirates against Supersport United, and Torino and Parma, 2-1-6. On to our second Soccer 6. I've gone the field in the Brighton versus Fulham encounter. I'm bankering Crystal Palace to beat Ipswich. The field in the Stellenbosch versus Kaizer Chiefs match. I'm going AC Milan to avoid defeat at US Lecce. Siding with Brentford to avoid defeat at home against Aston Villa. And I'm going for Everton to beat Wolves, 2-1-6. On to our Soccer 10, I'm going Celta de Vigo to be too good at home against Leganes. Orlando Pirates win and draw against Supersport United. In the Serie A, I'm going for Cesc Fabregas's Como to beat struggling Venezia. Torino win and draw at home against Parma. Borussia Dortmund, after their Champions League midweek game, I've thrown the draw in with them at home against Augsburg. On to our second page, I've won the field in the Brighton versus Fulham encounter. I'm bankering Crystal Palace to beat Ipswich, Villarreal to win at Deportivo Alaves, Fortuna Sittard win and draw at home against Heracles, and the field in the Stellenbosch versus Kaizer Chiefs outing, 2-1-6. On to our Soccer 13, I'm going Everton to beat Wolves, Brentford win and draw at home against Aston Villa, Liverpool to be too good at home for Southampton, Brighton win and draw at home against Fulham, and 3 bankers, Crystal Palace to beat Ipswich Town, Bristol City to beat Hull City, and Burnley to beat Luton Town. On to our second page, I'm going for Blackburn Rovers to avoid defeat at Derby County, Plymouth Argyle to cause a bit of an upset, win and draw at home against Sheffield Wednesday. I'm going for Sheffield United, win and draw at home against my beloved Preston North End. Middlesbrough, win and draw at Swansea City. Sunderland to beat Cardiff City, and West Brom, win and draw at home against Queen's Park Rangers, 256. On to our budgies bets for the weekend, and I'm going against all the Europa League teams on Thursday. I'm going for Brentford to win or draw and both teams to score against Aston Villa. Going for West Ham, win or draw, and both teams to score yes against Newcastle. I'm going for Bournemouth to win or draw and over 2.5 goals against Tottenham Hotspur, and Arsenal to beat Man United 4,200 to 200. On to our team goals, I'm going Brentford, Everton, Arsenal and West Ham, all to score over 1.5 goals. Brilliant price, 4,800 to 200. Onto the Championship, I'm going Coventry City to beat Stoke City and Burnley to beat Luton Town, and over 2.5 total goals in each game. And then over 2.5 total goals in the Sunderland versus Cardiff City match, 2,500 to 200. My both teams to score sides are Watford Millwall, Bristol City Hull City, Plymouth Sheffield Wednesday and Swansea Middlesbrough, 2,700 to 200. Spanish quartet, I'm going Villarreal to beat Alaves, Valencia to beat Real Valladolid, and both teams to score. And the Real Betis Las Palmas and Espanyol Girona games, 2,400 to 200. Now, Collis King, 6 on Nexa. I'm going Everton to beat Wolves, Arsenal to beat Man United, Burnley to beat Luton, Leeds to beat Portsmouth, Valencia to beat Real Valladolid, and Como to beat Venezia, 5,600 to 200. For the guys that are still in our post-net last one standing, please remember, 12:30 to 1 o'clock on Saturday is closing time. To everybody else, please remember to stay on side.